I went to the park one day. It was not a very nice day for walking. It was overcast, there was a slight chill in the air, and wind that brought with it the sprinklings of rain. But before that point, it had been raining constantly for days, and I was beginning to get cabin fever. So I ventured out on one of its walking trails in spite of the weather. As I walked, I saw the signs that the water had risen from the creek that the walking trail went beside. I could also see the water still raging in the creek below me. Receding from the flood it was, to something still violent and fearsome. The trail I was on was a gravel trail with plenty of puddles and mud from the floods, but I noticed in one particular spot weird imprints in the muck. They looked like some slithering thing with 100 legs trailing through. I had to stop for the muddy spot, but when I saw this peculiar thing, I got a weird feeling, a dangerous feeling. And so instead of trailing around the mud puddle and trapping myself further inside the woods, I turned around and began casually walking out. The weeds and trees swayed around me, congealing on and dispersing from my path. Some of the trees moved more wildly than others, more than the rest, and certainly more than the gentle breeze allowed. It was then that I started to run back to my car. I hit the open field of the park quick, and paused when I got to my car, out of a feeling of safety coming from not being in the woods. I looked back at the trees still swaying wildly. I heard a pop in the distance that immediately drew my attention. It sounded like a bone snapping somewhere far away. I was then brought back to my stretch of the woods when a particularly wild motion nearly carried a tree over. It exposed its roots towards the side of the woods, but instead of falling over completely, the roots seemed to come alive, scratching at the ground and bringing it back to its original side. The tree uprooted itself upright and began crawling towards me. I slipped in my car quickly and put it into high gear out of there. More trees and plants uprooted with the horrible sound as I began my escape. I had to dodge a few trees down the road. It seemed like the bigger and stronger trees were coming out, as well as the easier to escape weeds. The back roads were hard to manage, but I began to feel better when I reached the highway and there was no vegetation around. I rushed back home as quickly as I could. I had been getting these weird feelings for days and days now, ever since the sun sphere, but now it was clear I had to do something about it. We had to escape. Something very bad had indeed happened, and these were only the shock waves.